Hi, I'm Scott, here again with Start That Business Television. I'm here with Tyler in the middle of the line. We have a pod of people kind of sitting and waiting about, I don't know, quarter to half a way through the now growing line. So, Tyler, I understand you're with a startup business. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your business name.
Sure. Well, I've been a serial entrepreneur for the past 14 years, and we just launched a new startup here in Santa Monica called Mingly. And our startup is a type of personal CRM. So we're kind of like a Salesforce type system, but for everybody else that helps people manage their relationships and better keep in touch with people. We take the work out of networking.
Very interesting. It sounds like something I personally need, so interesting. How do you spell your business name and what's your website?
Okay, our business name again is Mingly, like you would mingle, and it's MING.ly.
Okay. So what prompted you to start this particular business as a serial entrepreneur right now?
It was mainly just this avalanche of different contacts and information coming from Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Google Contacts, and really finding a way to better manage it. And I was meeting so many great, A+ people, but I had a hard time actually following up with them and keeping in touch.
So would you say part of the need with this new business is solving information overload or better disseminating information?
Oh, no question. That's exactly what it is, and that's really how can you better manage those contacts and relationships and just do more with less information and get to the most important information.
So within the startup phase of 0 to 3 years, as appropriately defined by our banks, well, you may consider that appropriate. I would consider it inappropriate. Where exactly are you between 0 to 3 years in your startup?
We're in the, I guess you could say, founding stage.
Okay.
We have various, pre-seed investors, and we're working with a number of different local Santa Monica-based venture firms that are, walking us through the process.
Okay.
But as of now, we're kind of in that garage pre-seed stage.
How many people are associated with the business, employees, contractors, generally speaking, right now?
There's about, I'd say, half a dozen contractors and employees. And then we also have another few interns and Anderson MBA folks working on it, and a number of different advisors as well.
Right on. So what's the biggest challenge you face? I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur, so you've been here, done this in various capacities, I'm sure. What's the biggest challenge you face as a serial entrepreneur right now with this new startup?
I think the number one points that people need to focus on is building product, and just whatever it takes, don't focus on the platform or the technology. Find people that can develop and build product, whether it's design, programmers, database, etc. Don't get caught up in fancy things like NoSQL, and if you don't have Ruby on Rails developers, use PHP or .NET or whoever it is you have. So just focus on building product, engaging your customer, follow the lean startup process, agile development, and you'll do well.
Sounds like some good advice to new entrepreneurs, so definitely appreciate that. Tell me a little bit more about the trends that you notice with your experience. So you said you've been doing this for the past 14 years, correct?
Yes.
So what kind of a trend, if any, do you notice in the types of new businesses that are being started in America today by American entrepreneur startups?
I'd say the type of businesses today are solving different kind of more complicated problems. We're dealing with a tremendous amount of more data and different people that we're interacting with.
Right.
So it's really it's evolution, and it's exciting. I mean, if you look at back in the beginning of the internet, early mid '90s, it was how do you actually access a web page and then maybe put some sort of like Flash, but now it's you're moving on to HTML5 and just this new kind of frontiers.
Yeah, that's a good answer. So if you had to assign a percentage of service-based businesses versus other businesses, what percentage would you say you notice are more purely service-based versus you actually have a product or you're manufacturing something today?
I'd say it's a pretty even breakup. I mean, you're definitely seeing plenty of consulting and managed service, and I wouldn't really be able to say what if there's more of one or the other, but definitely.
We'll walk with you.
All right, fantastic.
Don't worry, you're not going to lose your spot in line.
So, it's really, you're definitely, now everything is essentially in the cloud, so to say. You're building on top of platforms and services like Google App Engine or Amazon EC2, and
Right.
it's everything's really, you're not selling software anymore. It's really, it's definitely a service of some sort. So the SaaS other free type monetization methods, or it's not really selling an actual product, but it's still a product.
You sound pretty tech savvy. These are my kind of terms and terminology: SaaS, CRM, customer relationship management, customer experience management. What kind of background do you have, out of curiosity?
I've been an engineer since I was in high school, building, coding for past 14 years. Managed a fair amount of consulting and outsourcing. Spent about 6 months in Bangalore. We had up to 40 different developers, customer service reps there, so offshoring to the extreme, in other words. And then also spent about a year and a half in enterprise at AOL and monetization on ad traffic. So yeah, it's been pretty diverse.
What challenges do you see currently in our country, knowing what you know about outsourcing and programming for startup businesses? Let's say someone that does not have an engineering background like yourself, like they don't have the education or the luxury. What are some of the challenges, trials, tribulations you notice other businesses facing that have to deal with building a technology, possibly outsourcing, and programming today in the US?
I'd say the number one focus is people think they're going to create a large set of specs and requirements and something, in an enterprise you call it a product requirement doc, a PRD.
Yes.
And really today, I mean, it's not about generating a large requirement. It's really creating the minimal, what they call the minimal viable product.
Right.
So I hear, the horror stories of I wrote these amazing specifications and I spent $12,000 outsourcing it to this company, and what came back doesn't work, and they don't really care about the product.
Right.
The main piece of advice, and really what I'd suggest, is find some way to find some developer, even if they're a junior developer, whatever it is, to be able to sit in the same room.
Right.
Find some way to do that. Even if it's part-time, you're going to be able to iterate faster. I'd say mainly figure out a way that you can get just whatever the most minimal, if it's do 10% of what your vision is, that'll get your point across, and get it out and do that 10% very well. If you look at what Apple does, I mean, it's really, they try to focus on the core, do something really simple and well, and then build on that.
Sure. So I see you, much like myself, holding an iPad clutched to our sides here. Okay. Would you consider yourself a mobile entrepreneur?
Yeah, I definitely consider myself a mobile entrepreneur, and definitely using the iPad as much as possible. And indeed.
How do you plan to leverage the iPhone 4 for your startup business?
We're really connected in with the Google Apps and Exchange ActiveSync platform. So iPhone 4 features the new OS, which is going to have better folder management, multiple inboxes, and just all around, higher performance CPU. So you're going to be able to get a better experience like you would more like on a BlackBerry, with a faster response and definitely more powerful mobile device.
Okay, appreciate it. Any additional comments, questions, thoughts?
No, I think definitely the iPhone 4 has generated quite a bit of interest, and hopefully you've got one also.
Trying to.
All right.
Hey, appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. We'll be in touch.